All right, today we are going to play around with lines and shapes, and we are going to draw a robot. If you have markers, um, you can use those. If you don't have markers, you can use anything. You can use a pen, you can use a pencil, you can use crayons, you can use art sticks. There's a lot of different things that you can use. I'm going to show you this uh, using just my black marker, and then later I'm going to use a little bit of water and a brush to fill out my robot a little bit more. So a robot, let's think about a first shape, and I'm gonna draw two at the same time so that you can really see the difference of how you can play around with making your robot. So first I'm going to start with a head on this side, and I want this one to have a round on top, and I'm gonna go straight across on the bottom. I think this one over here, I'm gonna do a box. I haven't used these markers in a while, and they look like it's got some sort of crusty bits. Sometimes the ink will kind of make these little crystals on the outside, and so that's why you're kind of seeing these marks here. Okay, so I've got a head for both of them. And then for the mouth on this guy, I'm gonna have this mouth go straight across the bottom. And I wanna give this robot some teeth. On this robot, I'm going to do a box. And no teeth on this one. Now for this robot, I think I want it to have just one really big eye. And then in the middle, I'm going to draw almost a complete circle to make it a little bit shiny. And on this one, it's going to have two different shaped eyes. I'm going to do an eyeball like that. And an eyeball like that. There we go. Our robot is coming out pretty nicely so far. Next up, let's see here. I think this robot is going to have a long neck. And I'm going to add some hardware to this guy. Sometimes they've got little rivets connecting things together. So I've got that on my little robot here. If I wanted to, I could add some more lines. Maybe I press very lightly with the marker. See here I pressed firmly and I use the side of my marker so I could get a nice thick line. Now I'm just going to press very gently so that I just use the tip on there. And I'm going to curve it just a little bit. And that kind of helps it look like it's a tube for the neck. And maybe this neck extends up and down. And so it has little segments for that. This one over here, I'm going to give it an accordion neck. And I think I'm going to do those skinny little lines again. Very carefully, practicing, drawing slow, and I'm not pressing really hard. Sometimes we hold our pencils really tight. We use our muscles really hard. You can see how much I'm gripping it. And then my hand gets tired, but it also it makes it harder to control the line. Sometimes we think we need to control, but sometimes we just need to relax our hands and hold our marker or our pencil gently so it's loose in our hands. And then our hand doesn't get tired and we have a little bit more control over our lines here. All right, this guy here, I like the rounds. I think I'm gonna do a big round body on it. Now, I did that really slowly so that I had control, because if I just tried to draw my circle really fast, sometimes I miss because I did it too fast. So I gotta slow down. And then I know exactly where my marker is going. It's not getting away from me. And I'm able to meet at the end. So sometimes we just gotta slow down so that we have more control over what we're doing. Now that other marker, that other guy's showing through a little bit. So I'm just gonna slide this piece of paper under there so we don't see that other circle distracting us. Now let's see here, for this body, I'm gonna add kind of a triangle. I feel a triangle is fitting for this robot. But I think instead of feet on this one, I think it's gonna be on rollers, kind of like a conveyor belt. So I'm gonna draw some circles here. Once again, I am trying my best to go slow so that I have control. And now I'm going to draw the conveyor belt. Maybe these need a little point in the middle. Now, does this look like it would roll on this? It does, but it also kind of looks like a spaceship. It could also be lights. So I might add more things to this to make it look like a wheel or gears. If I wanted to do that, I could add little bumps. Those kind of look like they'd work together there. Yeah. See, sometimes we have an idea and it changes while we're making it. We just go with the flow. You know, I feel like that looks more like it's gonna roll really nicely. Now, this one over here, I haven't decided what I'm gonna have for the bottom on this one. I'm not so sure yet, but I think our friend here needs a control panel. So I'm gonna add a control panel here. Put some buttons. Maybe a bigger screen. Pretend to put some words on there. And it's gonna have a dial or a clock or something. There's some information happening there. This one here, let's see, what can we add to this robot? I don't know what I want to do with the body yet, but I'm ready to give it some arms. Put a little hardware here where the arm can connect. This is a long arm. If I slow down when I'm doing this, I can follow along pretty well right next to it. If I did it really fast, I might get too close or get really far away. That's not a problem, but this is just tips on how to learn. So if I've got a curve that goes like that, I could try and match it up, but it got kind of pinched here and it got kind of wide here. If I try again and I go slow, then I can follow this line as I'm drawing. And now that looks pretty even. Okay, so let's use a different piece of paper for blocking there. Oh, here we go. A whiteboard. That'll work perfectly under there. Okay, so now I've got my arm. And I think I want it to do something similar to this. So it looks like it can extend and move. So I'm going to hold my marker gently and make little curved lines going along. And I think this one's going to have a big pincher. Yes, that'll be useful. Now, do I do the same for the other arm? Maybe this other arm is opening a door. I think we're going to have a door on here. That sounds like a good idea. I'm going to have my arm wrap around here. Oh, I didn't draw the hardware. Well, I can still add it in. Ooh, worked out perfectly. Now, that line kind of looks like it's going through my arm, like the arm is see-through. But if I add these other lines, it doesn't show up so much. Now looks like it matches this other arm. And I'm going to have a smaller pincher on this side. And it's going to hold something here. I don't know what it's going to hold. I think, oh, we're going to put an open door behind here. I'm going to make this door look like it's hanging down. Let's put some dots on it. And I'm going to color this in. Now I could color in really fast and get outside my lines and lose a lot of the good work that I had. Or I can carefully, slowly make little lines filling in around those details. I can even color this in just going one line at a time now. there. Now it looks like this robot's reaching inside. What it's reaching for, we don't know. But that looks pretty cool, I think. All right, our circle friend over here. What can we add to our circle friend? Some antennas. It really could use some little antennas. And this one's gonna have some little sparks coming off of it. Ooh, I like those antennas. I could add another one if I wanted. You can see here, I did a little bit of a diamond on that one. This one, it's either a light shining or maybe it's making a little sound. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Next up on our round robot here, I want to give it some really chunky legs, I've decided. And some big old box feet. Don't let this guy step on your toes. All right. But let's give it some grip on the bottom of its feet. Maybe it works out on some rocky areas. It really needs to make sure it doesn't slip. This one probably works indoors since it rolls. All right. What are some other things that we can add to this robot here? I could add some more rivets. I'm going to do skinny line and some dots. Rivets are similar to nails, where a nail is shaped like this. You hammer it into something. A rivet has a hammer head or a nail head on one side, and you put it through an object. Maybe you're squishing two things together, and then when you hammer it, you flatten this side out on the other side, and it holds it together like that. So a lot of things made out of metal, they use rivets. So we're adding some more rivets. We had some rivets up here. We're adding some down here. We had some on this one over here. And I want to do some more going through the belly. Now for arms, I don't know about arms for this one. It doesn't have to have arms. This one's got arms. This one could have 3 arms. This one could have 4 arms. This one doesn't have any. I've decided that this one wants a little satellite on top though. I'm going to start with this part of the satellite. like that little satellite on top. And maybe it needs another one. It's going to receive some good communication up there. Maybe these two robots talk to each other. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so we've got some robots. They're looking pretty good here. I'm going to now show you what you can do with just a little bit of water, a paintbrush, and your marker. This won't work if you used a Sharpie marker because Sharpie markers are permanent, but these are washable markers, which means they move with water. So I'm going to dip my brush in the water, and I don't need a lot of water on my brush, so I'm just going to gently kind of wipe the edge of my brush on the edge of the jar. I'm not going to bang it in there really hard because I don't want to make a mess. I don't want to splash or accidentally knock it over. Now, look at that. The color starts to move right away. And I'm not going to color everything. I want to keep that eye white. Now my brush is dry. I just need to just put the little tippy toes of my brush in there because I don't want a lot of water. This time I used more water, and you can see it's moving a lot faster. And I like that. Now if I want to have more of a 3D effect, I'm not going to fill in this whole thing. I'm just going to go right on the edge. And it'll just kind of help give a little bit of shading. So I don't have to go into the middle there because I want it to look like it's curving around. Let's see if we can zoom in. You can see that pretty nicely there. Just a touch of more water, and I'm going to start to work on the big body here. And once again, I don't need to fill in the whole thing if I don't want to, because I want it to look three-dimensional. So I'm just going to go around the edge. And if you notice, this time I was painting with my brush with the point on this inside of the marker. Now I'm going to paint over here. But if I'm painting, it's kind of hard to see where my brush is touching the water, touching the paper, because my brush is on top of my drawing. And it's blocking how close it is where my vision is. So I'm going to turn my brush from the other direction. Now, if that's difficult for you, you can turn your paper. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to turn my paper this way. And now my hand is still going to be in a comfortable place to line up to that marker. Now you might be able to see it's showing up a little bit of blue. So there's definitely a lot of blue that they use to make this black. I don't want to use too much water because I could kind of tear through the paper or make big puddles, or it could start spilling everywhere, and that would be hard for me to control. I'm going to rotate again so I get to this belly. I think I'll just do a little bit on the outside of this control panel. And I'm going to do my leg. And I'm going to do this leg over here because my brush is in the right direction for it to be comfortable for me to do. And then I'm going to turn it so I can work on that other side there nice and comfortably. And I think for the feet, I want all of it to show up nice and colorful. So I'm first just going around the outside. And now I can fill that in. I got a little dry, just a tiny bit more water. And that works really nicely. There. I like that robot. Now let's work on my other robot here. I think this time I'm going to do the mouth. Then I'm going to do part of the eye. And I'm going to do the neck here. Now we'll work on this 3D arm. So once again, I'm not gonna fill in all the way. I'm gonna try and keep control of my brush right on the edge. It was getting hard for me to move my brush this way, so I decided to come from this other direction, and I'm gonna meet it in the middle. And I want to fill in the whole pincher. I'm going to work on this arm over here. I grab just a tiny bit of water. But I'm going to leave this pincher white because it's on this black background. I think that if I add water on the inside, it'll disappear and it won't show up as nicely. So even though I did this one with color, I'm going to leave this one the way it is. And I'm going to do color on my door here. And I just want to clean my brush a little bit because it was picking up a lot of color. And I want just very little color. There. Now for our conveyor belt, I want it to look like there's shadows in here, like this goes farther away. So I'm going to do all of my painting inside here. Oh, look, there's some kind of yellow and green showing up on this one. You never know what might show up. Now, if you don't have a brush to do this with your marker drawing, you can use colored pencils, you can use crayons, you can use a regular pencil, just a writing pencil to draw things in. That'll really look like metal because it's gray. I might want this robot to look a little dirty. So I know that I still have a little bit of color on my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of, maybe I just grab a little bit of color from other areas, just kind of wiggle it on top of some of these black areas. I'm just gonna grab a little color from there, and I'm gonna kind of make my robot look a little rough. Needs to get shined up. I can make this look like a shadow there. And you know, it was like a little scruffy up here the way my marker did it, so I'm just going to kind of go with it. This robot definitely needs a cleaning. So with this arm, I could leave it with just one stripe to make it 3D. I don't have to do a stripe on both sides because this is a little bit wider than this tube is over here. So I don't know if I'd be able to keep control and have it just be on the edge and not fill in the whole thing. And since I want it to look more three-dimensional, I'm going to leave it with just the one stripe. And I did the same on this one. This one I did the stripes on both sides, but I don't have to do that for both of them. So there you guys have it. Some different robots. Your robots might be completely different shapes. Your robots might be doing your house chores, folding your laundry, brushing your teeth. It might throw the ball for the dog. There's so many different things your robot could do. Maybe your robot makes candy. I mean, the possibilities are all there for you to take. Hope you enjoyed today's robot drawing with a little bit of water to kind of snazz them up. And I will see you guys next time.